This SQL presentation is called Inner Joins, and I'm Dr. James Renaud from Shawnee State University. I'd like to welcome you to this presentation. In this presentation, I'll be introducing the inner join. Now, the word inner is optional within most SQL languages, so most people will call this just a join. So I'll be using the term join or inner join both ways. So during this discussion, we will show what a join is, specifically the syntax of an inner join. I will go over the syntax of the on clause, and I'll be going over how to and why we prefix column names with a table name. You'll see examples of those, and I'll go into details of that. Right and left outer joins are covered in the next video in this series. You're probably asking yourself the question, what is a join? Well, a join is the process of combining two or more tables together so that we can select attributes from multiple tables. Because maybe we want to see customer name and order information, where the only attribute on the order table would be customer number, and we've got to bring in data from the customer table. We use the relationship between the primary and foreign key to implement the join and to connect the tables in a join statement. By default, all joins are inner joins, or by default joins are inner joins, and we'll go into outer joins in a little bit. But the definition of an inner join is that an inner join returns only rows where there's a matching record on both sides. So if you have a attribute connecting to another attribute, only if the rows exist in both tables will anything be returned. This isn't what you want to have happen sometimes. Most of the time it is, but sometimes you will want what we call an outer join, and that will be covered in another presentation. This presentation will be using a group of SQL tables laid out like this. There's a customer table, a shipment table with the customer ID being a foreign key. There's an item table with a shipment detail using the shipment ID from foreign key from the shipment table and the item ID from the item table concatenated together to be a shipment detail table. So these four tables represent a company's shipments of items to customers. This data is available for download, and there will be a link below this video containing the download link to an SQL sample data file that you can load on your server. Let's look at the join clause. The join follows the table name after the from in a select statement. So it's select columns from table, join. The word inner is optional, but you can say inner join if you want to put the inner there to make it easier for you to remember that a join without any specification is automatically an inner join. You follow the join with table, the name of the table you're joining. You follow it with the word on, and then you follow it with a condition. The condition is a Boolean expression where common attributes between the two tables are compared, and that's how the join is made. We usually use the foreign key on one table and the primary key on the other table with an equal sign between them to come up with and to create the on clause. In our joined select statement, we will often find it necessary, and in many of the examples you'll see it, to put the table name before the column name with a period. So it would be table name, period, column name. The reason we do that is that if you have an attribute called date in both tables that you're joining, which date do you want? Or maybe you've got other attributes that have the same name. Often when you're doing a foreign key primary key relationship, you'll use the same name on both of the columns, and the system needs to be told, well, we're comparing the customer number from this table or the customer ID on this table with the customer ID on that table. So you'll see that the column names are prefixed by the table name with a period, and we'll see that in the example coming up. Let's do an example of an inner join. Let's do a simple one to start off. For example, I'd like to show a list of shipment numbers and the customer's name and the shipment date. Well, if we go back to our entity relationship diagram a couple of slides ago, we'll see that the customer name appears on one table, but the shipment date appears on another table, and the shipment number appears on the other table. So we're going to need to join the shipment table and the customer table together to be able to create this data or to select this data as the customers or the client is asking for. The common attributes that define the relationship between the shipment and the customer table are the customer ID, because it's a foreign key on the shipment table and it's a primary key on the customer table. Let's see what the SQL statement to join those two tables and to give us this data looks like. So here is the SQL statement, the select statement with the join, and you'll see that we're selecting shipment ID. Now, because shipment ID only appears on one table, I don't have to put the table name prefix in front of it, but I could have. The next column I'm selecting is customer.lastname. So I'm saying, well, last name only appears in one of the two tables, but go ahead and tell SQL that it's in the customer table, just so there's no confusion of where it comes from. Also show us customer first name, and then show us the shipment date from shipment. So now here comes the tricky part. Join customer. So we're joining the customer on the shipment, and then we do the shipment, and then we say on. Customer.customer ID equals shipment.shipment ID. So it's only going to show us the shipments and customers that match. And you can see that that way. You can see that it gave us a shipment ID, the last name, the first name, and the shipment date from those two tables. And combine those two tables, join those two tables together to give us the data that we asked for. Just to reiterate, in the previous example, now it says here all column names were prefixed with the table name. No, some of them were, most of them were, but all of the ones that had a common name were. Customer ID appeared in both tables, so it had to be prefixed or you would have gotten an error saying that you were using an ambiguous column definition. The inner join, the order of the tables is not important. Whether you say A join B or B join A, it doesn't matter, and the order of the tables around the equal sign in your on clause don't matter either. But it just kind of depends on how you're thinking about it and which direction you come at the ERD when you're generating or when you're designing your join statement. The on clause, again, use the primary key of the customer table and the foreign key of the shipment table, and that's what created the one-to-many relationship that a customer can have many shipments and a shipment belongs to only one customer. Let's do a second example of an inner join, and this one's going to be a little bit more complex because what I would like, the client would like, for instance, the list of items, their description, and the count of shipments that they've been on. So I'm going to need to know the item ID, the description of the ID, and count the number of shipments they've been on. Well, to be able to count the shipments, we're going to need the shipment IDs. And to do that, we're going to see that the join between item and shipment detail needs to be made, because with shipment detail, we can get the shipment numbers. Let's do a third example. This example is going to be much more complex than the first two. You can join multiple tables together, and because of business situations and questions that a client may ask, you may need to join multiple tables together. Let's look at this example, and you'll see that we're going to join all four of the tables that we have in our sample data to be able to answer the following question. The client comes to you and asks for the following. They want a list of customer name and email addresses for everyone who has ever bought a yo-yo from us. Also, they want to show the number of shipments that was sent to them and the total quantity of yo-yos purchased. That's a very common kind of question that you would expect management or purchasing or someone like that to ask in a business. If you go back to the entity relationship diagram at the beginning of this presentation, you'll remember that customer is connected to shipment by a primary key foreign key relationship. Item is connected to shipment detail in a primary key foreign key relationship, and that shipment detail is connected to shipment by a primary key foreign key relationship on the shipment ID number. So we're going to have to join all four tables together to be able to answer this question. So here's the statement, and it's a biggie. Let's go step by step through each and every piece of this SQL statement, just so that we all fully understand how it works. We select the last name, first name, and email from the customer table. We select the count of the shipment ID from the shipment table. Now, we could have gotten that count of shipment from the shipment detail table as shipments. So that's why it shows up as shipments there. We also add the sum of the quantity shipped from the shipment detail table and show that as quantity bought. Our from statement is from item. That's we just got to start somewhere. So because the order of those tables really doesn't matter in an inner join. Now it matters in an outer join, but in an inner join it doesn't matter. And we join shipment detail on item ID from item table and the item ID from the shipment detail table. So that connects the item and the shipment detail table. Then we want to connect the shipment table to those two, and we do that by saying join shipment on shipment detail shipment ID equal shipment ID. So that now contains that join. We've now joined those three tables together. And now that we've joined the three tables together, we have the customer ID on the shipment table here that we can use to join the customer table using a join customer on customer ID equals shipment customer ID. So in this example, we've joined all four tables together. The first table came from the join. The second, third, and fourth tables came from the three joins that follow. The where clause says where description like %yo-yo % selects only items that contain yo-yo in the description. So that's going to limit, because we've limited the number of the items to only items containing yo-yo, then we're going to get shipment details only for yo-yo items. Then we're going to get shipments only for shipment details for only yo-yo items. And then we're going to get only customers that are on only shipments that are for only details that contain yo-yos. Now, a shipment may contain yo-yos and other things, but the question was, show us the number of shipments of yo-yos we've made and the number of yo-yos each of these customers have bought. And we then group by, because we want totals by customer. We don't want totals by shipment. We don't want totals by item. We want totals by customer, because we asked for the customer name and email address. We now just group by customer ID. And here's the result, which would be a great table to generate a great report to give your client if they were getting ready to have a sale on yo-yos or bring out a new type of yo-yo. They can see all the customers that have bought yo-yos in the past and be able to target the marketing directly to those customers. And you can see that a couple of these customers, well, there's one here on the report, um, uh, Jennifer Patterson here, who has had 2 orders and has bought a total of 6 yo-yos from us in the past. So is she likely to buy more yo-yos from us in the future? Hope so. I hope that example helped clarify the complex use of joins and an inner join specifically. This concludes our presentation on inner joins. This presentation is copyright 2019 by James Imbrano, PhD. You can contact me at jrenault@shawnee.edu, and this work is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, Share-alike 4.0 International License. And I'd like to say thank you.